Socialists, and when I say socialists, I don't mean the Labour Party. Socialists are often seen as people who argue for social justice and more equality in society. Where does that leave Liberals? I believe we actually want to strive for both. We want to strive for the work ethic. We want to strive for a dynamic economy. But we want where there is social justice and equality of opportunity at the same time. I do not accept the two are incompatible. As a Liberal, I don't think it's easy to argue both, and we've got to look at solutions that generate both. I believe we should be the party that does talk about the small businesses, and I thank Bill for his resolution on how we should support them. I think we do need to recognise we've got to grow the economy. We can't have an economy dominated by the public sector. That is economically stagnant, but it's also politically and culturally stagnant. It has great dangers. But we shouldn't be the party that says those people left out of society should be left back further. I was horrified when Edward Miliband suggested somehow people who didn't work should be excluded from social housing. How does it help you to get a job if you don't have a house? How does it help you stabilise your lifestyle if you don't have a home? And if you don't have the money to pay for a private house deposit, where else can you go other than social housing? I was absolutely horrified, and I give credit to my fellow councillor Jo Anderson, who's in the Labour Council of Liverpool, for saying, Eddie Lindebrand, you got it totally wrong. We shouldn't have a problem with Liberals, and we don't. Agree with people when they got it right. So how do we combine both? I don't know if any of you saw the presidential address by Obama. I know others have been critical of him. But he was trying to put an agenda to the American Congress to say, we need to stimulate the economy, we need to create jobs, we should do that by reducing the tax burden on small businesses. And those people who don't pay taxes, the very wealthy corporations and the very wealthy in American society, need to cover their fair share. That, to me, is a Liberal agenda. We can reduce, and we should reduce, the tax burden on the low paid to give a genuine work ethic. We should simplify the benefit system. I use the analogy. I had a young man in my constituency who was 26, had never worked. He got offered a job with quite a major company on cruise liners, and he said he would only be £5 better off, so it wasn't worth the effort. Now, it can't be right for a society that someone is in social housing, getting benefits, chooses not to take a job that will give them a career at the age of 26 because they'd only be £5 better off. That can't be right. We need to create growth in the economy and redistribute wealth. And I thank Dane for giving us policies that talk about taking the vast majority of the wealthiest in this country don't pay a single debt duty tax because they fit under the 50% of people who get exemptions. 50% of inherited wealth come under numerous exemptions. The wealthy have an army of accountants. The only thing that means whether you pay death duties is not whether you died or not, or someone in the family has, it's whether you can afford an accountant to avoid it. That has got to change. Inherited wealth is one of the greatest inequalities and the greatest untapped tax resource. And we as Liberals have clear policy to say, tap into that at a modest degree, and then use it to give what I use the phrase, democratic capitalism. Give everybody the capital to start a life afresh, whether they live in Surrey or Chewbrook. They should have the opportunity to not go into debt to get education or training, or start up their business, or to buy themselves onto the housing market. we should give people their choice how to use that money. And yes, with choice, there is a danger they will make mistakes. But isn't that what life is about?
Liberalism.
That is liberalism, of allowing people the framework to grow or not to grow, to climb the frame or choose not to. But by giving people an equal leg up at the beginning of their working lives or adult life at 25 or even less, depending what they want to spend their money on education, we could fund the tuition fees. I saw a debate at Liverpool Town Hall between the Green Party having a go at the Labour Party and say, well, what's your difference really when you're talking about you only want 6,000 tuition fees and a £40,000 debt for someone going to a certain education, and the Lib Dems and Tories say we want to have 6,000 and probably £60,000. Is actually not a lot different. We should use the untaxed wealth of one generation to fund the investment for the whole country. Now let me put this point. Yes, the individual gains some education. They may not gain straight away. They may not get a job straight away. But they get the learning opportunity to use that. And the vast majority will then earn more in British society that pays back into a tax break. It is an investment not just for the individual, it's an investment for the whole society. We as Liberals should make that case loud and clear. We're not giving up moral hiatus about whether the person goes on technical training and technical college, or whether an education maintenance grant, or whether they want to use the money to start up a business because they've got a business idea and they're not academic. Let's get away from believing the only way forward is academic careers. By giving people the start-up grant in life, we invest for the future that will generate the income that keeps the older population in wealth and pensions. Redistribution of wealth isn't against growth, it's the investment source for future growth. That is our case. And when Peter Hain condemned the Liberal Democrats for worrying about petty issues, and to a degree I actually agree with him. Economics is the beef. And I say to Peter Hain and some of the progressives in the Labour Party, we have not abandoned clause 4 on redistribution of wealth. We are stating the Liberal case that you have forgotten. Redistribute wealth to give people the opportunities and the opportunity for the whole economy to grow. A more equal society is a growing society. It's not a static society. On internationalism, I am delighted we took a brave stand earlier today and said that we should consider the use of our armed forces to support democratic movements and peacekeeping. In a measured way. And Noel was perfectly right. Whether we like the historical reasons why we have an excellent armed forces and armed forces that succeeded in many areas of the world the Americans haven't, we shouldn't dispose of that expertise. What we should do is use it in a measured and meaningful way for international benefit, and we should be proud to do so. I'm pleased Roger, like myself, took the campaign for AV as it's not a great system, but it's an improvement. We put our case out publicly for AV as a better way of doing things, but qualifying it that we wanted STV. We have the issue now of House of Lords reform. We should make sure the other parties aren't allowed to go down the side track of party lists which create more conformity and more authoritarian control. We should put the case for the House of Lords reform. We want STV because we want to give power to the electorate and away from the party. That's why STV is so effective. It doesn't mean you're voting for a party list and a party nodding dog. I have to say, nodding dogs come cheaper than some of our Labour politicians. You got the opportunity to exercise your choice as a voter. We should now campaign for STV and reform the House of Lords because we want a democratic society. We want legislation that gets through on merit, not party whip. And the only way to do that is STV and not party lists. So let's bang the drum. We have something distinctive, something liberal, where others will agree with us, and we should not. I think one of the issues that Roger rightly raised, and I'm grateful for it, how do we as a small party make our profile present? I believe we've got to get alongside other people who may agree with us on one issue, and having campaigned with us on one issue, actually might realise we've got other issues that they agree with. You don't persuade people by barracking them from afar. You persuade people to come and support you by sitting alongside them and talking to them. Whether that's the use of the internet, public meetings, demonstrations like this should be there. I believe this country deserves an Obama-type agenda, not an Ed Miliband agenda that says, I want to be more right-wing than Conservatives and I want to make more people homeless quicker. There is a vacuum in British politics, absolute vacuum, and we have vacuous political slogans. We never believed in nationalisation wholesale, but the clause 4 that the Labour Party forgot to promote was redistribution of wealth and redistribution of power. That's where we're at, that's where we're distinctive, and that's where we have got a coherent case that needs to be put, and we should do that together. Not amongst just the people in the room, but amongst those people who may come from different political traditions, who may not realise that we are as robust as we are, and robust we are, and I'm proud to be able to work with you as party president. Thank you.
Hello. We're just discussing the President's address and saying how it captured some of the spirit and essence of the Liberal Party, which is much more relevant and pertinent to people's everyday lives than maybe some rather esoteric policy points. It's all about connecting with real people.
Yes, not worried about their jobs
and their homes and their livelihoods and what's going to happen to their children and the education. And it's
how to pay for services,
which will be building up a problem for the future form,
which is where we're at now.
Yeah. So good, solid Liberal stuff, and I applaud it thoroughly.